predicted, Dan, they would do it on a Tuesday. I don't know if it's been officially announced. Am I ahead of myself here as we predicted? But it appears we have a new police commissioner in Philadelphia. Let me know if the papal smoke has gone up over City Hall or how this works. I mean, the Philadelphia Inquirer can't be wrong, but Channel 6 has it too. I'm more relying on them than the Philadelphia Inquirer. And the new police chief-elect, no, I guess he can jump in right away. Well, I don't know how that works with Kenny. I have to track him down at a Wegmans. Kevin Bethel is a longtime former deputy commissioner, Philadelphia Police, and then the current chief of school safety for the school district of Philadelphia. All right, so we have that. We also have this huge lawsuit filed by Elon Musk against Media Matters, which is the bane of talk radio hosts, talk radio listeners. They seem to be formed, and they've kind of branched out to go after Elon Musk now. And just one note of something that down the road that occurred to me again this morning, and this is written by an African-American author in the Washington Post, Dan, and it's about Robert Kennedy Jr., an African-American female, and it says, Democrats need to get real about RFK Jr.'s strength with black voters. Aha. So could I be proven right all wrong? All these people, see, we told you. So he takes away from Trump. And you know what the issue is with black voters and RFK Jr.? Well, the father had vast appeal. But what's the other issue, Dan, do you think? That he's noted for?
You tell me. I don't know.
Okay. Vaccinations.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember this stuff with African Americans in general around COVID vaccinations, any vaccine.
So let me clarify, though. Are you talking COVID vax or RFK has a long history going back even further about vaccines?
Here's how she begins the column. When white folks catch a cold, black folks get pneumonia. It's a phrase I heard my dad say many times when fretting about finances or the economy. A more literal manifestation of this idea turned up during the pandemic when COVID-19 devastated black communities at rates that are still hard to grasp today. It's a concept that RFK Jr. has become the face of a political movement defined, she says, by medical conspiracy theories, seems to understand. He received endless media coverage after telling a room of reporters the virus may have been ethnically targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. Remember that? I mean, this guy's got a long trail of it.
Yeah.
A staggering 28% of black voters surveyed in a recent New York Times Siena College poll would vote for Kennedy over Biden or Donald Trump if the election were held today. Now, no one's going to tell me that's taken more from Trump than Biden, who already has problems with black voters and their reluctance. The other thing I'm thinking about with RFK Jr. today is the fact, if there are debates, will he qualify? I saw that presidential commission, which I despise, and just about any American should, that think they still run these debates. And they put out all the debate dates, the towns are going to be in and all this. Can you see Trump? Whoa, you got to be kidding me. You think I'm going to let you just tell me what town to show up and how many debates, right? And I don't think Biden wants to debate very much. If Trump doesn't debate in this, that is a tactical error. You know, in the 2020, I said he didn't debate in the second one because they wouldn't have been there together. He was afraid Biden would cheat. Do you think Biden is a good cheater? If he were standing there on Zoom? No.
Well, he can't think on his feet. He doesn't have the capacity.
Imagine Daniel whispering, say Borowski. Oh, what was, hey. Reminds me of a story, you know.
Yeah.
So I see this as this woman's onto something here where RFK Jr. could qualify for the debates and also in the general election with black vote. Remember, we're dealing here with small percentages. So am I still going to conclude, if these people keep on telling me, that RFK Jr. takes more from Trump than Biden? He takes some from Trump, no doubt. I think he takes more from Biden by percentage points. And that's all that's necessary in order to have one or the other win. All right, I'll go through this column. I just saw it this morning, Washington Post.
I still disagree.
You do?
Yeah.
Why?
Like, I think there are tons of former Bernie bros that are looking for that anti-establishment candidate, and they don't necessarily align, conservatively politically with Trump. They just want that anti-establishment. And I think a lot of Trump's base, well, not a lot, I don't think the majority, I say, 25-30% of his base are people that left both parties trying to find someone that would speak out against the establishment. And now you have RFK here, who's become the number one, priority for those voters.
I still think, though, when you have Trump, and you can see the leads he has in the polls, why would you go with an imitation? You're going to say they're tired. They think Trump's.
But the question becomes: has Trump become an imitation of himself? Because he's out here talking about anti-establishment, but then he had the time in office to do something about it, and everything just got worse.
You're looking at people your own age or younger.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure they're going to be as much of a factor as you think in this election.
Well, first off, they got to come out to vote in the polls.
And if they're if they're females, they're only voting on abortion and Taylor Swift. By the way, did you see that fumble of Travis Kelce last night?
All that frustration that was bubbling in Kelce, was that not having Taylor Swift? Do you think he would have had that kind of attitude, that personality, if she were in audience?
No, he wouldn't have. But look, in his defense, he's being attacked because he jetted off to Argentina and back. And that's pretty grueling. Joe Concha attacking him on Twitter, the guy that's on Fox. Can you imagine? The fumble was a good play on the part of the Eagles. It wasn't. Kelce had the ball buttoned up, I think. And the guy, one of the safeties, punched it out. It was a good play. But the fact that he fumbled, and Andy Reid showed us Andy Reid again, 4th down and 4 on his own 39, right? And on the Eagles 39. And what does he do? He punts. The guy punts it into the end zone. Oh, my God. You got to go. You got Patrick Mahomes. I think the Eagles look very much Super Bowl bound now after last night. That's got to be your takeaway on this. It's I
have a bone to pick with you, though, Mr. Giordano, and I think a lot of the audience might if they had followed.
Yes.
Yeah, if they followed.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I had the no, I did have the catches right. 7.5 was the number.
The thing is, if I just went with my gut, let me make sure this works real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Philadelphia Eagles money line, boom, under 45.5 match points. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown score. DeAndre Swift, anytime touchdown score.
Oh, man.
Yep. Travis Kelce, under 7.5 receptions. He had 7.
Right.
And then Travis Kelce, you had us bet over 76.5, Dom.
You only have 54?
44 yards. Oh, well, that actually worked out pretty good. But, that was supposed to be a big buzzer.
That was $900?
For $1,000.
Oh,
I bet $5 for $1,000 in the Dan Time parlay yesterday with those 6 legs.
Good one when we do FanDuel.
And I specifically said my gut here is to go both under on the receptions and the yards, but you convinced me otherwise.
I think you were going over on the receptions.
Actually, I think it might have been.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. You would have gone
that
with
lessens the blow a little bit. Thank you.
No, I shouldn't have said that. I just came up with an esoteric thing there. All right.
And I just got a very right-leaning individual who texted me saying that Trump pushed the vaccines, and that alone is making her lean towards RFK.
You got to tell me who that is here in a moment.
In a moment I will.
He didn't push the vaccines. He took credit for it, and it's one of the greatest things he did, I believe. And now we have somebody that's going to be they have to be pretty far out there. My God.
I mean, he was the one that, there was an operation to get it out there quick.
Yes. Going to hold that against him? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
But he was against mandating it. You can't hold that. No one holds that against Trump. I'm sorry.
But there are some people that group him along with Travis Kelce in the vaccine debate.
Mr. Pfizer.
Yeah, Mr.
All right,
Pfizer
let me say a couple words about the new police chief. And Dan, people are already on Twitter. And look, I know Twitter is just smarter than the room negative. But what about Larry Krasner? All right, let's break this down. We're going to have a new mayor who's better than Jim Kenney by huge margins. We're going to have a new police commissioner who, based upon cop sources I've been talking with all morning, vouch for the guy as a cop who will enforce the law vigorously, but is also going to be able to satisfy the demand on police accountability. Charles Ramsey is what he was likened to. Now, Ramsey wasn't Frank Rizzo, but he was a very good police commissioner for somebody that came from outside the city. This guy was a cop, deputy commissioner for X number of years and has been in the city. And as far as Krasner, we could have Dick Tracy as police commissioner, and we still have to deal with Krasner. I mean, that's true. And we're doing everything we can either to beat him in the next election. This November 27th is the argument about his impeachment. If we win on that and that sticks, then we move forward with pushing for the trial of Larry Krasner. So why do people want to wallow in this? Would you rather we just continue the status quo? And I guess your only answer is stay away from Philadelphia in any way, shape, or form. You can't. We know it's coming into the suburbs. We got to get Krasner out of there. All right, side question.
Surely not enough Dick Tracy references made on the show, Don.
Well, thank you. It's my first ever.
Yes.
Yeah, I went back. I reached for that. All right, so side question today. Meglio furs, all right? They were a staple in South Philly. And this, Dan, is kind of the part of South Philly that was the real South Philly. Back in the day, it's fallen a little bit, I think, on hard times. You get over around Broad and Wharton, Reed, and all that, and you're pretty close to 9th Street. That's the South Philly. Every funeral director in the world goes through there. They're all Italian, too, up and down the block. Must be a dozen of them, right? They're all headquartered there.
Uh-huh.
So Meglio's Furs sign was taken down yesterday. It's a landmark. So as soon as I saw that, I told Dan, wow, this plays right into our hands for a side question. I want to know your all-time Philadelphia area landmark. It could be a sign. It could be, I'll give you one, Dan, Cotman and Castor, whenever the Flyers used to win, or the Eagles or whatever. It's a 5 Points there in Northeast Philadelphia. It's a landmark. That's where people go to celebrate because all those roads come together there. So I'm going to take off the board Philadelphia area landmark, the Rocky Steps. All right, which has international people.
Yeah, but isn't it a bit overrated?
I don't know.
So the steps, not the statue.
Yeah.
People
beat cancer, and they come here to run the Rocky Steps.
Okay, yeah.
I have a friend, Mike Vitez, who wrote a great book about it. The stories you're besmirching people wanting to run up those steps.
But they're just stairs
that have done. Oh my God, that's right. And Shakespeare's not
like you get out there and they're
it's
there. There's obviously the movie reference, but they're stairs.
Okay, all right. What's yours then? Let's see if we can.
I got a big one, Dom, and it's one that goes way too loved in Philadelphia. Like it's just sitting there, just rotting away, and it could be so much. And there are so many different plans for turning it into something, but they never seem to happen. And at one point, it's the biggest ship that the United States have ever built.
You're back on that one again.
Yeah,
yes,
and it crossed the ocean the fastest in history. Like this thing is hugely historic, and it's American exceptionalism at its finest. The SS United States, I think Sinatra had like a residency on it at one point. It's just sitting there in South Philadelphia, Dom. You cross the Walt Whitman Bridge, you look over, and it's just a bitter reminder of what that thing could be.
They want to make hotel rooms out of it. I heard one developer. That's a good one. All right, I have to tip the hat to that. So we have the Rocky Steps off. Hit us with something that is a Philadelphia area, even if it's been destroyed, taken down, that you think is a good one. There are a lot of them. It just hit me when I saw the sign yesterday. The new police commissioner, how are you feeling about that? As far as I can tell, this is an upgrade, but I'm only going based upon my little knowledge of this guy, his background, and also what the cop sources that I rely on, what they say about him. So, it's not my choice, Dan. There were 2 or 3 other people. I would have been happy because I could see the proof of it with the current interim guy. Wouldn't you have been? You've been on that too, that he's out there all the time. We see him, et cetera. But we didn't get that. I think it's a good pick. We'll break it down as we're trying to get them on, even though it's not announced yet.
Can
So,
I throw another one out there? Just
sure.
because I want to push it out. It can be Philadelphia suburbs, right? Just to
Yes.
and the
We
thing
want
is,
that too, right?
I really like you mentioned maybe it's not around anymore, but a lot of people might remember it as a big landmark. I just want to throw out this one as an answer to get people's minds kind of spinning in that direction. The Bazaar of All Nations.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dave Scalish, if he hears that, our world-class engineer will come. That's an all-timer. There was a documentary done about it. We
Yeah.
had him in here talking about what was in that
Like,
Bazaar
I've
of All
never been
Nations.
there. I don't know much about it, but because of Scalish, because of Jim Kelly, I hear so much about it. And
Yeah, I don't know if it's still in existence or not. It's near the Golden Mile out there in Delaware County, Springfield, Clifton Heights. All right, so that's what we're looking for. How are you feeling about the new police commissioner? And again, he's been in charge of, I'm not in agreement with some of the policies he's done with the school police. But overall, when he was a Philadelphia cop, deputy commissioner, he did a good job. And I think the Ramsey years here were good. I think he was a good cop, good record, and enforced the law vigorously. He didn't beat up on cops as far as, a Larry Krasner approach, but he held cops accountable. All that's good. I don't know fully all the other choices, but Dan, I do know the dad of Officer Fitzgerald was a finalist. That's the cop who was killed, Temple cop who was killed, and his father is the head of the police, some part of the police in Denver, and apparently he was in the running. So 855-839-1210. Got a lot to say today, too, about the Elon Musk lawsuit. And Robert Kennedy Jr. is fascinating. To Dan's point, I get it. You, maybe Dorenzo and others, you see the establishment. You're paying attention to it. I'm not sure if the average person, say 22 to 30, is paying attention that closely enough that they're going, wow, that Kennedy Jr. I'm not sure who they are.
Like I would venture to say that most of the political videos on TikTok are either hyper progressive or they're anti-establishment.
Right.
There's not many pro-conservative or pro-moderate Democrat videos.
He's Trump of the left, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And I think he's so anti-establishment in a lot of people's eyes that those on the right are getting like I'll be completely honest. Before he came out with the reparations stuff, I was in RFK's camp. I liked what he had to say, and then I obviously had to reconsider.
Well, you know where I'm going. That's I'm not in his camp, and I don't want him to. If I'm wrong, which is rare, but I could be on this. I'm going to go down the reparations thing. If I have a chance with any of the Trump reparations, tie him to it. It's a killer.
But like my group of friends, and that's really what I'm just speaking of. We grew up on South Park, comedy, libertarian type comedy, Chappelle Show. Now I went and saw Big J Okerson over the weekend. Gives you kind of an idea of what my friend group kind of like looks for in entertainment. So they're kind of quasi into politics, but they're all pro RFK. They all love the guy, and I don't.
That's on paper now because
and they were pro-Trump just because they're like everything in Washington's such BS. Someone has to go and blow that up. They thought it would be Trump. He didn't do it, so now they're looking at RFK as that person.
All right, let me throw that out to you too, and I'll give you more. This columnist, African American, saying large appeal on the vaccine issue with African American voters. I don't know if she's right on that, but if it gets them to take a look at him versus the other two, we're into percentages. And as Dan writes, if you're in that category, 30-something, somewhere around there, listener, maybe a bit libertarian, would you chuck Trump for RFK Jr.? If he is in the debate, Dan, that's where there's going to be trouble for both, Imagine Biden debating RFK Jr. Oh, my God. Now, with Trump, I can't even imagine a collision of those two.
I would just throw Fetterman up there for the
yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, he's been righted 2 out of 2 this week on China and Israel. What's up with that? The wife must be completely away. I smell divorce there with Yoko Ono. All right, 855-839-1210. All that in play. Jump in, hit us on the side question too. Philly landmark. And I don't know Meglio's, But in South Philly, that's another sign of the times there. It's a fur place too, Dan. Can you imagine a fur place at Broad and Wharton?
Throw in the fur?
No,
No.
no, not at all.
Yeah, I
It's
don't know. I
amazing.
don't know really anyone that is much into fur.
No, and the other one
It's just not
that's
a look I
that near
enjoy.
there, have you ever heard the Boot and the Saddle?
What do they sell, like cowboy boots?
No, it was a bar. I just always thought it
Wait,
was a
wait, is this the bar that you frequented while you wore the cowboy boots growing
no,
up?
I never was in there. I had bad, I just
I
sort of
love that you don't deny the cowboy
pick
boots
up
stuff.
stuff of sailors and stuff in there. I just never it's got an historical marker. You can't knock down the building. You gotta keep the boot and saddle thing.
Can we take a moment?
Yeah.
I've always wondered, to pick your brain,
Yes.
the idea of cowboy boots in South Philly. Like, it's
Uh,
not just you, it's something that it was like, what was the idea behind it? Like,
I don't know where I even got them from.
yeah?
Yeah, I like the hype part. Maybe
What
it
was
was
it,
a
like
little
Dukes of Hazzard were cool,
yeah.
so, like, it was trendy, or
I had the chain too, though. Cowboy boots
it's
and the
just
chain
you live in South Philly, though.
and a jean suit.
Yeah. You're
Three-piece
not
jean
riding
suits.
horses.
I know. Well, maybe it was the height. I just like the look.
Was there, like, tumbleweeds during that time in
I
South
think the
Philly? Like,
first date with Roe, I may have worn the cowboy boots and a chain.
have fights down at the saloon?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The boot and saddle. All right. We got a good one today. And I really want to get you in first, though. RFK Jr., this whole vaccine thing, black voters, and Dan and Dorenzo can't wait, I think, particularly Dorenzo, to get to that RFK button. If he's in the debates, I don't think any of the others would qualify. But can you imagine a debate with Cornel West, RFK, Biden, and Trump? Oh, my God. 855-839-1210. That's how you get in on Talk Radio 1210. Dr. Dano Show. Brian Kilmeade on the show today at 2 o'clock. At 12:30, Dan has been chasing this researcher, Lee Fang, down. Wrote an unbelievable piece, and this plays into all this Elon Musk stuff and what's going on. NewsGuard, how this company is created a ministry of truth on the internet through the government. And they have a metric, that's misinformation. It seems to be most things conservative or misinformation, disinformation. And they work with social media to downplay it or excise it in some way, shape, or form. So that's coming up in just a couple of minutes. This guy really, really is on top of this. It is amazing to me, too, that we have another Leah Thomas. We have this now this transgender woman. Last name is Cortez, or is it the first name is Cortez? Cortez Fields, hyphenated last name, now competing and setting records at the Ramapo University or college. The swimmer described former University of Pennsylvania swimmer Leah Thomas as an inspiration. All right, so we're trying. Riley Gaines is on this. This person was
tomorrow, I think.
Okay, perfect. A mediocre swimmer, Dan, and just won the 100-yard butterfly with a new program record. Won the 200-yard with a record. Second place in the 200-yard butterfly. Now, it doesn't look to be as big as Leah Thomas, but here we have again, after all this. And my buddy Bill Lawrence has kind of an exclusive that out in the Penn-Delco School District, they suddenly met last night to say bathrooms are open to anybody that you want, whatever you identify with. And, you can be still a male and be on the sports teams of females. Penn-Delco? What the heck's going on? Is it a new school board there? I'll give you details on that a little bit later. All right, side question today. Meglios first. Giant sign, saw them taking it down. Every time one of them goes down, it feels like a piece of the area goes down, right? So hit us with the landmark that you definitely miss, or it may be still there, a landmark or a place that is identifiable.
Before the break, we were talking about the cowboy boots in South Philadelphia. Newman Price on Twitter makes a very smart observation. He says he wonders if it was a result of spaghetti westerns. And,
that's right. Yeah, Clint Eastwood.
All the Italians that want to, pretend they're in the West.
Yeah. Well, do you, punk? That is one of my top 10 lines. I like lines where the preamble's almost as good as the line, where he goes, and all this mayhem, all this stuff going on, the fire plugs going up in the air. He's got a sandwich in one hand he was eating and a giant gun.
It's very true. All your quotes. It's always the preamble that really stands out to you.
Yeah. Do you get what? It's a buildup.
Can't handle the truth. It's the buildup,
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's a buildup that is everything in life. Yeah. The line itself, I'm already past it by the time we get there. The buildup does it. All right. Let's take Joe in Pennsylvania.
On the
somewhere.
The same thing.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me started. It's almost a holiday. Yeah. Let's go to Joe. All right, Joe, what do you have today? Hi.
Yeah, hi. Actually, we go way back with Uncle Irv.
Oh, okay. Absolutely. All-time great.
I mean, that's how far back we go. Listen, remember Valley Forge Music Fair?
Yes, sure.
Man, I'll tell you what. I went to Valley Forge Military Academy. We used to go down on the weekends to the shows. And I swear I met you down there. Shid Cerise was in a show with her husband, and she fell off the stage and broke her ankle. I don't know if you remember that or not. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Valley Forge Music Fair is a good one. Love Sid Charisse. I don't remember that, though.
Was that a Dr. Oz event?
Oh, no. Dr. Oz, people fainted. I just barely opened my mouth. I'm thinking, what the heck's going on? Did I say something? It's going to be, the Inquirer's going to be up, and the woman is fainting. That's right. I knew it wasn't me. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about this researcher from Real Clear Politics, Lee Fang, and he's got a great piece, NewsGuard, the Internet Trust Tool, how the government, the internet, and this businessman, this is big, big money and big, big trouble, have come together to come up with metrics using, and they'll determine if it's misinformation. Now, that's next to impossible, right? I mean, we'd have to take every political candidate. Biden, can you imagine a guy hitting the button? Dear Kevlar. Yeah, there you go. I mean, or a lot of anybody can say misinformation when they just don't want to debate the point. Okay, he's next. 855-839-12. Got to get off the cowboy boots with Dan. He's fixated on that because he's mad on that parlay. I did mess up.
I wore Janko jeans, so.
I did mess up. Yeah, spaghetti westerns. They were a thing. I love Clint Eastwood's hair and some of that stuff. Yeah, really good.
So you were trying to emulate Clint.
Yeah. I mean, how could you not? He's still today got it. He's about 94, 95.
He
and he's
pretty
still,
cool,
yeah. 855-839-1210. All right, Dom Giordano Show. Welcome in, everyone. 855-839-1210. I've said it when he first said he was going to go independent, RFK Jr., that this, one way or another, is going to be probably the number one or number two reason for who's elected president. And I stick by it. And we're seeing this column I'm mentioning in the Washington Post today is pretty insightful on that. I still, in the end, think it takes away from Biden more. But I was just thinking when I saw this presidential debates put out there. Now, I don't know what they do if either Trump or Biden or both don't want to debate. They have them all set up, which is presumptuous. All right, we'll get back to that. But I am fascinated, and thanks to Dan, because sometimes, a guest is a busy life. This piece, a couple of weeks back, NewsGuard is what it's called. The researcher is Lee Fang. NewsGuard. Surrogate the feds pay to keep watch on the internet and to be a judge of the truth. You know that pesky the guy Dale something over on CNN. The guy who constantly comes on. And,
the guy Dale,
Yeah. What are they called?
Fact checker.
The fact checker.
Yeah.
The fact checker extraordinaire. And he fits the part.
Dale. Is that right, Dale?
Now, we don't need Dale anymore. Now we have an internet fact checker.
Oh, great.
Can you see if the politician got a shock, if it was too much misinformation? All right, that's 2 strikes. Any more misinformation, you will get a mild shock. Yeah. Oh, my God. All right, let's go to Lee Fang here from Real Clear Politics on Talk Radio 1210. Lee, great work. Thank you very much for coming on today.
Hey, Dom, thanks so much for having me.
Well, tell me about NewGuard Technologies. And this, you say in the beginning of the piece, came to light during the Twitter files.
Well, that's right. to write this piece, I blended, a number of sources, talked to a lot of the publishers targeted by NewsGuard. I got a lot of, I did some of the Twitter files, so I have some of those emails, looked at some of the litigation and other public documents. But just to kind of summarize this for your listeners, there are a lot of purported fact-checking, anti-misinformation groups out there. It's kind of the cause du jour that, we need these organizations to clean up the public discourse, to provide a fact check on the news. And, on the face value of that, there's nothing controversial. But if you drill down on the details, many of these organizations are very partisan. They have their own viewpoint of the truth that is reflective of certain ideological conflicts of interest, of other corporate conflicts of interest. But NewsGuard is separate from a lot of these other groups in that this is a for-profit company that is trying to change really the architecture of the internet. Because when they rate you as a serial misinformer, as a misinformation website, they're partnering with advertising agencies, with the kind of ad networks that place ads on the internet. They're implanting their plugin, their browser plugin on public libraries and universities. Even they're working with some telecom companies to kind of make this a standard function when you're browsing the web. And they're trying to basically demonetize news publishers carte blanche when they rate you as a misinformer. The problem again here is that they've got their own biases and their criteria of what is true and not true. This is, again, very subjective. And, they've gone after a lot of conservative websites, but they're not purely just going after conservatives. They're really going after anyone that questions the mainstream discourse. Any kind of dissenting websites, including some on the left, are getting slapped with this misinformation label and getting demonetized and really just censored here.
Would an issue, we're not in the throes of COVID, but I guess some overlay of vaccine, is there a particular issue here that triggered this? Or I see Stephen Brill's name on it. And as much as I admire some of his work, it doesn't surprise me. He's the type of guy who I can see can't see his own biases, even if they're internal, that you're not actively, everybody has bias. We just cannot. I don't know what I would say is misinformation. I'd be very, very careful myself, Lee, to do that. So how about you? I mean, isn't that the fair point here? Are they interested in profit? There's a lot of money here, or is it dominance of some sort?
Yeah, that's a very important point. Unlike all the other kind of major fact-checking organizations out there, and again, there are many out there, NewsGuard is a for-profit entity. Most of those other groups are nonprofit. They're hoping to actually benefit monetarily from censoring sites. So that creates clear conflicts of interest. So, for example, they partner, and one of their largest investors is the Publicis Group. That's the largest conglomerate of marketing and advertising agencies. That's the company that's working with Pfizer to place their ads. Now, they're going after pretty much any critic of the vaccines. Any website that criticizes the coercive vaccine policies, whether that's the mandate, some of the lockdowns, the vaccine passports, they're going after those sites and calling that misinformation, even though these are legitimate areas of public debate. In fact, some of these policies, I think, have been overturned by the courts. They've kind of been shown as ineffective. This isn't misinformation. This is how we formulate public policy in an open society. We talk about these issues. We criticize them. We look at the facts and try to figure out what's best. But here for the mandates, this is a government policy that coerces individuals to buy a corporate product. It's very unlike almost anything we've seen in the last few years. So again, this is a conflict of interest that they're working with the big advertising agencies that are working with Pfizer, and then they're labeling critics of these policies of Pfizer's product as misinformation and trying to blacklist them. Again, here's another example. NewsGuard, one of their big clients, has been the Defense Department. The Pentagon gave them a $750,000 contract to look at misinformation. Well, then guess what happens? Some of these independent journalist websites that are criticizing and raising questions about the war between Ukraine and Russia, noting that the U.S. has a lot of sway over this country, noting that there have been credible reports that there are extremist elements of the Ukraine military. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with any of these messages, but this is reporting. We have to look at this critically, even if you support the Ukrainian side. There are legitimate questions to be had. This website that I'm referring to, Consortium News, this is a left-wing site. This has been labeled as misinformation. They take 12 of their articles critical of the war in Ukraine and then label all 20,000 of their archived news stories as misinformation. All the while, NewsGuard is working with the Defense Department, which clearly has an agenda here. So, this is, again, we all have our biases, sure, but the NewsGuard casts itself as the neutral arbiter of truth, and they're reshaping how we see the news.
How do they do it then, though? Is it just what is it they've set up to I see the rating system and all that. What do they do exactly?
Yeah, so when they target a site, they will cherry pick a few articles that they claim are misinformation. They will provide the publisher an opportunity to respond, so they'll send some questions. We talked to one publisher who went through this process, the Daily Skeptic. This is a British libertarian website, and they will give at least a perfunctory opportunity for a site to respond. Well, the Daily Skeptic responded to every question that was raised about their news articles. They even appended every article that was flagged by NewsGuard with the criticism of the site of the article and provided their own rebuttal. They updated their site after responding to questions from NewsGuard. What did NewsGuard do after the Daily Skeptic responded and engaged in good faith? They actually downgraded the rating. They have a rating system from 0 to 100. And for a site that said, hey, look, we're going to actually update every single article with your criticism and then provide more information so that, it's a back and forth. You have your perspective, we have ours, and here's our documentation, here's our studies. And in reward for actually engaging with NewsGuard punished them even more.
What's the remedy now? Calling attention to it. I mean, this is incredible, the research and the fluency you have with several different sources. And again, it's nonpartisan, bipartisan, Real Clear Politics, talking with Lee Fang. What's the remedy, Lee? Now we know about this. What kind of response have you gotten from people to do something?
No, that's a good question. I think, the very first response is just raising awareness. This NewsGuard company has bullied and pressured so many sites, the Federalists, even the site that I wrote this for, Real Clear Politics. That they've got a view on the Russiagate issue where, anyone who pushed this false narrative about Trump, Russia, gets a 100% rating, and anyone who questioned it gets downgraded. Now that we're kind of a few years out from that, we can look in the rearview mirror and say, hey, look, this was unfair. But what do we do about it for the current issues going on right now? I don't have a good answer to that. There have been some in Congress that have talked about hearings looking into this. That hasn't really happened yet. I think for the casual reader, for someone who's logging in a library and seeing these negative ratings when they're trying to read the news, they have no way of knowing that this site is very biased and conflicted. I don't have a great answer for you. I would actually love your opinion on this. On what can regular Americans who are just trying to navigate the internet do? I'm kind of left speechless here.
Yeah, I would tell you. Hey, I was going to ask you too. Media Matters, Elon Musk. It's along the lines of this. What Media Matters apparently did, putting some neo-Nazi stuff right next to, say, a Ford company ad to get Ford to pull out of Twitter. That's what the lawsuit's about. I happen to think I am very dismissive of anybody that has the temerity to say we're the arbiter of information, misinformation, and all that. They're not even suspect. They're obvious to me. And the counterpunch to them is you can have a great debate. You can have both voices. You can do any of that. And I'm fine with that. And that's how you sort out what is misinformation. A lot of this stuff is perceptual. Very hard to say other than something purely scientific. And even then, science is always debating. So I would say, Lee, my point is the whole thing is preposterous. It's completely suspect because you just can't do it. There's no way.
Yeah, that's right. And I think there's an additional danger when the government gets involved.
Oh,
When
absolutely.
when is it okay for the government to be the arbiter of truth on controversial topics where we don't know the answers? We don't want the government inserting themselves into a newspaper or magazine to tell us the truth. Why is it okay for them to work with these third-party fact-checking organizations that then bully the news? Isn't that just censorship by proxy?
Exactly. And this is the great conundrum for Congress. And Lee, based upon some of them I've talked with, their knowledge of the internet, et cetera, is not real good. So this is going to take a while to get it out there, being
That's
kind.
an understatement.
And that's why we can't even get, is the internet like a newspaper or not? And how does this work? I'm more in the camp that thinks the libertarian approach of free range. Yeah, you're going to have some probably bad stuff out there. But the more you do what they're doing with NewsGuard, the very people who are conspiratorial oriented, they're going to become more that way. They're not going to stop because you say it's misinformation. You got to be kidding me.
No, that's actually a great point. In terms of how do you drive someone crazy? You present them with the truth and then tell them this is a lie, and then when they start looking this up, they realize that there actually are major corporations and government agencies, including the military, involved in preventing them from seeing the truth. And that's
Exactly.
got to sow a lot of cynicism in the public. Like, if you're a normal person, again, the world is a complex place. I'm a reporter that stares at the news all day, and it's hard for me to sort out the truth. So for anyone working a 9 to 5 job and just has a little bit of downtime to read the news, how do they sort out? And there is misinformation and disinformation, no doubt. But for this additional layer of corporate and government censorship to really manipulate the information out there, I mean, it's just kind of mind-boggling.
It is. It's great stuff. I'm so glad we got you back on now. Lee, NewsGuard, the internet trust tool at Real Clear Politics. Where do we find your work on Twitter, or where you're headquartered, or website? Where do we find you?
Well, I write primarily on my Substack, which is www.leefang.com. Would love for your listeners to check me out there. I try to publish new investigations about it once a week. So appreciate you having me on, Dom. Thank you so much.
Will you please stay in touch with Dan, my producer, and the next thing you have of interest, let us know. We're always open.
Hey, thanks so much. You have a nice Thanksgiving.
Have a good Thanksgiving. Thank you, Lee. Dan, great work. I know it took a couple weeks to come up with it. I just had to throw the ball out here with Lee, and he hit every point that I could see in his article.
Yeah, he's really on top of that, man.
Yeah.
It's really scary. You have a private company here, essentially the arbiter of truth. It's the Truth Commission, is it
yeah,
not?
and it's also that it's impossible to do, even if you're completely well-intentioned. We're all made up. Man, just think, I mean, if my intention is just to tell you the absolute truth, just think of all the things I have percolating that come out on the air. How would I even know if I'm just 100% like the fact checker over at CNN?
Yeah.
All right, 855-839-1210. And we'd have the asterisk underneath everything. Subset.
And just to have something like this after so much that was claimed as fake news is coming out as truthful. And, if NewsGuard was there, they would have labeled it as fake. And who determines what's fake and who are they listening to and where are the biases coming from? It's.
Yeah. And the Defense Department giving him $750,000. Yeah, go ahead. And it was a left-wing site. They don't like the Ukraine war thing. Big money there. Don't tell us the negatives. Hey, Rescue Natural Supplements, unprecedented Black Friday sale is back again. This year, the savings are bigger and better than ever. Right now, they're slashing prices on all supplements with discounts ranging from 50 to an incredible 80% off the total cost. Rescue has a wide array of products to address your health needs, including immunity and cholesterol support, heart health, and natural energy enhancers. That's 50% off omega-3s, probiotics, and so much more. One more thing. This Rescue Black Friday sale will run the entire month of November. So shop today at res-q.com, res-q.com, or call a Rescue product consultant at 800-26-LIVE, 800-262-5483. Again, all Rescue supplements are 50 to 80% off during the entire month of November. So why wait? Start shopping at res-q.com. Do it today. Dom Giordano Show. So, Dan, I don't see you in the front pages of the Inquirer now. Are they backing away from it? Do you still see the police commissioner stories? They moved them away a little bit? I'm looking for that.
Oh, no, the Inquirer?
Yeah.
It's a front page now
Oh,
on the
is
website.
it still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a major deal. Look, I know we still have the reign of Krasner land. We coined the term. We deal with it. All that. But a new police commissioner here and new mayor is a start for the entire area. And we'll still have to continue to deal with Krasner. I hear good things from the police sources I talked to today. So we'll continue to monitor that situation. All right. Side question today, though. We saw this fur company, Meglio's Fur. See this big sign, big crane taking it down in South Philly. And it occurred to us, we've never really asked this. It can be a current landmark. You know, something people say, where this sign is, where this place is, or something that got knocked down. The Melrose is obviously the all-timer, but, one of the all-timers. Let's go to Patty in South Philly. Hey, Patty, you're on Talk Radio 1210. Hi.
Hey, Dom. How are you? And
Good.
Hello to Dan. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Patty.
Melrose was my pick, but as I was sitting here waiting, my main pick is Palumbo's.
Oh, yes.
Palumbo's nightclub was a part of my history, and we were there so many times, as were so many people in Philadelphia. It was an amazing place. P and Frank Palumbo were two of the nicest people in the world. I'm sure, Dom, you've been there many times.
Oh, yeah. Now, you sound vague for me. You got a vocal pattern. Is Jody your sister?
Yes, she is.
How's she doing?
She's doing pretty good, Dom.
Good.
God.
Yeah, Palumbo's too, and it's still a point of honor. They should have named the West River Drive after Frank Palumbo, who
They actually did.
Yes.
They did, Dom, and then they backed away from it
Right.
and changed it.
I know. That's what I mean. It still should be Palumbo Drive. The guy did more for the city than almost anybody imaginable. So Melrose.
Just for the zoo itself.
Exactly.
What he did for the zoo and children. Yeah, an amazing man.
All right. Thank you, Patty. And tell Jody, both of you have a great Thanksgiving.
You do the same. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah, the Melrose. Meet me at the Melrose. Everybody knows goes to the Melrose. Goes to Melrose.
So, like the Archie comics, they have, what was it, Pops or whatever, the burger bar where everyone kind of like gathered after any events, like after anything let out at the schools, people went. Was that what the Melrose was? You just went there and you saw everyone from the neighborhood and.
Yeah, and also, Dan, just what an invention. They had a table where you sit with people you don't know. Remember I told you that? Unless you had four people, unless it was totally open.
That's not, like, I can't get behind that idea. Like, did you converse with the people at the table?
Well, I'm not saying it was a good idea. I'm saying it was unusual. I was never a fan of that.
So was it always like the last open table?
Yeah, I think so. Right by the door, too.
Yeah, people just tried to avoid it.
When you come into the door, it would be to your... Well, maybe there were two of them. There was one to the right. I always thought I never had to sit at it.
Was there a specific Dom Giordano dish?
Yeah, we never. I had him as a sponsor for a while, which was the thing, but they never did that. That was maybe that's why the company.
So
faded.
you yourself, when you went, what did you order? Was there a good thing that you had, like a regular?
I don't remember any particular, but I did get to go in the back room, and they actually had each station. How do you make a lima bean? And they had the script.
Oh,
it was amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, it is one of the saddest. Things imaginable.
The diners of the past are awesome. Like I went to Ponzio's across the bridge.
Ponzio's a great.
So cool.
Did stuff. The name was on the marquee there. I did a debate.
Did you?
Standing up with John Runyon and this other guy, and I thought there were going to be fisticuffs. Yeah. Great debate. Imagine, though, a stand-up debate walking through the diner debating with two candidates for Congress.
Over at Ponzio's.
Oh, at Ponzio's. You can't make this stuff up. All right, 855-839-1210. You get on board. Coming up, we're going to talk with Delaware Valley Journal editor Linda Stein about all these local people who are in charge of kids big time that are also anti-Semites. Some of them just got kicked off school boards, one of them in Upper Dublin. That's next on Talk Radio 1210. It is Dom time. Welcome in. Brian Kilmeade here with a new book at 2 o'clock, but we'll ask him an array of things. We got a great side question going on. The new police commissioner, though. Dan, could it be that people are so disheartened by Krasner, their default position is to say, Philadelphia is never going to get out of this, no matter what. I'm just writing it off. Well, can you? Or as we document almost every day, it bleeds into the suburbs constantly. We talked with the police chief over in Marple out there in Delaware County last week. Brilliant stuff from the guy. It's coming from Philadelphia. You're not going to escape it. You're not going to wall it in. All right, let's go to Linda Stein. Linda is one of my editors, the editor over at DelawareValleyJournal.com, where a lot of the stories that we end up talking about, or we're finding them when they are, or they have it first, you won't hear these things in the Philadelphia Inquirer and the rest of the so-called local media. They don't have an eye for it, and sometimes they don't have an ideology for it. Linda joins us on Talk Radio 1210. Hey, Linda, welcome in. And question for you, without revealing all your deep throat sources there. How do you guys come up with all these stories in the suburbs, like these two anti-Semitic school board members, or at least one still is, that are involved in the teaching profession? Is it people tip you off now? They know you're a good source?
Yes, that's exactly it. People tip me off to that, and that's great. I'm always happy when somebody tells me about something that could be a story.
Well, these two in a short radius, one the Colonial School District, the other one, Upper Dublin, I know a little bit better, is a pretty highly rated school district. And you make a point in the piece, at least somebody there says it, my own knowledge would indicate a lot of Jewish administrators, students, or fair amount, and teachers in that school district. And we have two people engaged in clear anti-Semitic tropes and or remarks that have been fleshed out, and they're both in the teaching profession in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising, but maybe it shouldn't be. And I was thinking about this. I would not be surprised if there are others too that come up as, this comes out. I think ever since October 7th, there's been a lot more incidents of anti-Semitism. The Anti-Defamation League just had put out something that in all of the year of 2022, there were 500 incidents in South Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, and Delaware. So 500. And since October 7th, there's been 105. So that's like huge.
Yeah, we're seeing them more too. They're shockingly, to me, coming off what we saw here. If this were the normal thing we've seen for years in the Middle East, and they said something anti-Israel, but after the slaughter we saw on October 7th, they're ratcheting up their game. So the first woman is the deputy superintendent in Philadelphia, and she was on the Colonial School Board. She's resigned, and she called the Israeli Defense Forces a terrorist group, clearly. Their response to you and anybody else is they sent a note, I think you had it up too, of this block of a policy. You have freedom of speech outside your job. And I'm thinking her job probably involves curriculum, probably involves kids. She's the deputy superintendent of schools.
Right. And a friend of mine teaches in the Philadelphia school system, and she's Jewish. And she's like, I'm not real comfortable having that woman supervise me now that I know that, she's anti-Semitic. So there's that.
Yeah. Now, the other Linda, I have more of a personal connection to. I didn't say it on the air, just like you, I protect certain parts. But this woman over in Philadelphia teaches at a Quaker school. Not only that, she's the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I have another story today of a woman in Maryland who's on the task force against hatred that on Twitter has exhibited total anti-Semitic tropes and hatred. It seems to me that any of these groups that are monitoring everybody, DEI and all the rest, that significant numbers have issues themselves and that they're being outed on social media. What can you tell us about the second person?
Well, as you said, she is a DEI administrator at the Green Friends School in Philadelphia, so it's a Quaker school. She did not respond at all to me, and she has not been sworn in yet. That'll be in December if if she decides to take the oath of office as a school board member in Upper Dublin. And there's this petition out. There's over 2,000 signatures on it now, calling on her just to not take the oath of office and to apologize to the community. So it's kind of interesting. And how this started was she made a Facebook posting for a seminar, a webinar, suggesting that Upper Dublin residents, students, and teachers take part in it. And it turns out that the woman who is running this webinar, Sausan Jabbar, who is ironically a teacher in the Chicago area and a Palestinian, seems to be also anti-Semitic. No surprise, right? So,
and anti-American. We're committing genocide too.
Oh yes, right. Joe Biden, genocide Joe, right?
Yeah. So it's amazing though, two in the same profession. And, one at a high level in Philadelphia, the other DEI, they're both monitoring stuff like this in their job in some way, shape, or form, are freely on social media, even in this climate, engaging in this, and they were both elected or were on the school board.
It is surprising. And it's upsetting. I mean, as a Jewish American myself, it's upsetting.
Linda Stein with us from DelawareValleyJournal.com, Delaware Valley Journal. Linda, also the story up there at Delaware Valley Journal. Federal government hits UP with federal civil rights investigation. And there's an expert calling UPenn the worst campus he's seen for anti-Semitism. I don't know that even I would say that. It's in the top 5, though, and that's really saying something, it appears. What's the sense of why the University of Penn? Is it just the Ivy League is rife with this? I mean, why Penn?
Well, some of the other Ivy League schools are also evidently Harvard, Columbia, Cornell. They're all have had anti-Semitic incidents, and also Hillel, which is a Jewish organization for students at colleges, just came out with a new survey that 1 in 3 Jewish students since October 7th is now afraid to reveal their identity to their peers on campus. So that's pretty bad. 1 in 3, 1/3.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Linda, what happens out there in Upper Dublin now? You said there's a petition, right?
Right. I was checking to see today if there's any follow-up on it. And it seems as if nothing has happened as a result of the petition, at least not yet. So presumably at the next school board meeting in December, people will come out.
Yeah.
Maybe in droves like they did at the Colonial meeting and say, we demand that she not be sworn in. And, we'll have to see what happens with that.
Well, I would say this for our listeners, DelawareValleyJournal.com. I'm honored to write there. And if they want what's happening in the area, but particularly in the suburbs, that the Inquirer either ideologically doesn't like the narrative or just doesn't have the focus on it. I know that's where a lot of our listeners are. And to me, the big suburban story is how the suburbs are moving toward these politically correct, the anti-cop stuff over in Springfield Township. You guys were on that early on with the thin blue line. I remember one of the first articles I ever used was Radner and the mascot thing. Delaware Valley Journal had that first and put that out first. And stories like these anti-Semites That's the story. What the heck is happening in the suburbs?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Linda, have a great Thanksgiving. And again, thank you. Thanks for always answering the call and keep us in the loop.
You have a good Thanksgiving too, Dom. Oh, and my question or answer to your question would have to be the Liberty Bell.
Ah, the Liberty
That's
Bell.
a
Yeah,
great
there you
answer,
go.
Linda.
That's a very good one. We should have taken that one off. Thank you, Linda. I'll take Independence Hall off
Yeah,
too
why don't we
now.
do that while
I'll take
yeah.
and Liberty Bell, but that's a good one. Everybody loves the side question. Most you can always suggest a new one too. All right, good stuff from Linda Stein. This woman, the Quakers, they have to answer for this. Are people